This university has established under the able guidance and blessings of distinguished Padma Vibhushan Pujya Dr. D. Virendra Hegde, the Dharmadhikari of Sri Kshetra Dharmasthala, President of STM Educational Society, Honorable Chancellor of Sri Dharmasthala Manjunatheshwara University, Dharwad. STM Educational Society is a premier non-profit educational organization functioning under the sacred aegis of Sri Kshetra Dharmasthala. There are about 68 various institutions under STM Educational Society. STM Sri Dharmasthala Manjunatheshwara University, there are 5 constituent institutes under this university: Medical College, Dental College, Physiotherapy College, Nursing College, and very young institute, Research Institute for Biomedical Sciences. And all other institutes are distributed throughout the state. Sri Dharmasthala Manjunatheshwara University is interested in expanding the horizon of our knowledge, provide a platform for teaching, learning, research and development, and extension activities at various levels in the following faculties. Presently, there are Health Sciences and Biomedical Research faculties already working under the university. In future, other faculties like Engineering and Technology, Management and Law, Ayurveda and Natural Sciences, Humanities and Social Sciences, and any other emerging areas faculties will be coming under the university. The major achievements of the university and other institutes of constituent institutes of the university. We are very proud to mention that Sri Dharmasthala Manjunatheshwara University is a very young university. It's just it's in second year. It's not even completed 2 years. It's already in the rank 1 of emerging private universities in the country, as published by the Outlook in September 2020. The survey conducted by Outlook iCare. And 12th rank in emerging university in the country by IIRF, Indian Institutional Ranking Framework Ranking System 2020. It stands at 12th rank. The medical college is in 9th rank among private medical colleges in South India. It's the 14th rank among private medical colleges all India, and 31st rank in all India colleges all India. Is as the survey conducted by Week and published on August 30th, 2020. And dental college stands at 5th rank among private dental colleges all India level, 10th rank in dental colleges all India level, and 8th rank among top 18 dental colleges in the country. It's a different surveys conducted by Outlook and Week journal. The STM Institute of Nursing stands at 8th rank among top 10 nursing colleges in the country. So coming to STM Research Institute for Biomedical Sciences, this is as I mentioned earlier, is a very young institute under the newly established Sri Dharmasthala Manjunatheshwara University. The institute has started with an intention of doing advanced research in the area of biomedical sciences to mitigate the unmet medical conditions. The institute, we have a talented and dedicating faculty with industry, academia and industry experience, and working at national and international level. It's an amalgamation of academicians and industrialists. The faculty, they have both industrial and academic experience. And thrust areas of our institute are gut-liver axis, is the research areas, gut-pancreas axis, gut-brain axis, glycobiology, autoimmune and inflammatory diseases, stem cells and regenerative medicine, and we are also involved in developing cell-based assays for personalized drug screening. And also, I am very happy to mention that the institute is very young. We are already starting MSc and PhD programs. From this academic year, we are going to start MSc program in biomedical science. And from next year onwards, we are going to start PhD in biomedical science or other biological sciences. Meantime, we are conducting customized hands-on training programs in cell culture and other laboratory techniques. As I mentioned that we are going to start MSc Biomedical Science program from this academic year. Admissions are open from October 2020 and classes will be commencing from November 2020. Further, I kindly request all the participants to share the information on MSc Biomedical Science program offering by our university with your friends, juniors, seniors, and other aspiring students. So thank you for joining us and enjoy the webinar sessions.
Thank you, sir, for this brief introduction. Now it's time to introduce today's eminent speakers, and it gives me immense pleasure to introduce our first speaker, a well-known personality and a great teacher, Dr. Shyamsundar K. Joshi, also known as Dr. S.K. Joshi. So he specialized in radiology imaging and radio diagnosis. He has served many institutes as professor and head of the department before joining SDM College of Medical Sciences and Hospital. Here, he served as professor and head Department of Medical Imaging and Radio Diagnosis for more than 15 years, and as principal of SDM College of Medical Sciences and Hospital for 3 years. Presently, he is a Pro-Vice Chancellor, Academics of Sri Dharmasthala Manjunatheswara University since its establishment in the year 2018. He has 21 international publications to his credit and has delivered more than 500 guest lectures at state and national level. Today, he is going to speak on the topic basic principle of nanotechnology and its application in the medical field. So this is a brief introduction about speaker one. And we have another speaker, Dr. Dhananjay Bodas. So he obtained his doctoral degree from University of Pune in the year 2004. From there onwards, he received many prestigious fellowship and awards from countries like France, Germany, and Government of India. He has worked in many research institutes as postdoctoral fellow or scientist in India and abroad. He has 59 international publications to his credit. His area of interest are micro nanofabrication technologies, biomedical micro devices, micro nanofluidics, and biosensors. At present, he is working as Scientist E in Nanoscience Group since 2009 at Agarkar Research Institute, Pune. Today, he is going to speak on topic conundrum in nanotechnology and its solution. Now, I request Dr. S.K. Joshi to take over the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Madhu and Dr. Palaksha.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It was very nice of you having given very good introduction of our university, and we are proud to say that we are on the right path of progress, fulfilling the vision and mission of our university under the blessings of Sri Manjunath and his Dr. Virendra Hegdeji. We are continuing our dedication towards the university. Welcome to you for this nano world. I should be confessing you that I'm not an expert in the nanotechnology or nanoscience. It was by initially a hobby and then a passion, collecting the data. It was almost like an addiction when I entered into this nano field. Huge amount of information and very close to the application in the medical field. are very impressed in this field, and hence I wanted to pass on some of its information to all the common people. Most of the people have heard the word nano. If 5, 6 years ago, if you would have done a survey, they would have said, what is nano? They would have come out and say, so it is a nano car from Tata. But now, a little more wider spread of the nanotechnology, they say that it is not only nano car, but it's something to do with some science. And beyond that, again, there are a lot of queries in their mind. But still, the word nano has become popular, but they have a lot of inquisitiveness to know more about what is this nano. With this background, I decided, and usually I take such opportunities to pass on this information to all the common people, and especially those who are closely involved into that. And not to claim anything, any knowledge in this, but to share the knowledge which I have collected. So good afternoon to all of you. Greetings from Sri Dharmasthal Manjunatheshwara University, Dharwad. I wish you all absolute COVID-free future. This is our campus, university campus. What you see is the highway connecting Hubli on this side and Dharwad in the north. And these are the hostel, this is our playground, and this is our main medical college, and this is almost 700-bed hospital, and this is super specialty hospital, Manjushri, about 350 beds. The peculiarity, each floor has got its own specialty and self-sufficient and self-reliant with very good faculty. And these are our ladies' hostel here, and there's a mess, and this is our auditorium. As you come on this side will be our dental college. This is just to give you a bird's eye view of our campus. It's a beautiful campus. I welcome all of you to have a visit and take our hospitality. This university has got 5 constituent institutes. One is our medical college, SDM College of Medical Sciences and Hospital. Other is the nursing college, and then is the physiotherapy college. Also, we have got our biomedical sciences, RIPS, what we call Research Institute of Biomedical Sciences, and of course, our dental college. Basics of nanotechnology and its applications with a special reference to medical field, maybe medical imaging, early diagnosis, cancer, and dental aging of the patient also. I'm going to talk for these following parts, and I'll end with the conclusion, something different. And abuse of nano is very important. Awareness has to come up this time. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. Dr. Albert Einstein. Many of them might have seen this movie, Honey, the Kid Shrunk It. So this was the miniaturization of the human beings, where he could not see them at all. It was just imagination, but the things are coming true. It is not the human beings who are miniaturized, but surrounding atmosphere, surrounding whatever the tools may be miniaturized. Some of you have seen this Fantastic Voyage movie in 1966. Here, a group of scientists were brought down to microscopic size, and in their submarine, they are let into the blood flow of the human being, and that person was a victim of assassination attempt. And to save his life, they entered his body through the circulation and tried to save him. During that process, they have described all the biological changes which can occur to these foreign body entries into the human body. It is really a great imagination brought into picturization, and all these things might come true. You may not send human beings inside, but you can send nano robots inside to repair the body internally. Defense technology is going all micro, lighter, and faster, and this might be a future tank which may be more powerful than the regular tanks, miniaturization, nanotechnology, and microelectromagnetic system, MEMS, are increasingly being adopted in military and aerospace applications. And DRDO is working on that. Mineral, as I said already, being applied in a variety of the fields of walk of life. The future of MEMS and miniaturization is very exciting. Now, evolution of computer is, one should know how these computers have evolved. Initially, during the 1943 and 46, used the huge room for computers, calculating basic calculation of 2 digits or maximum 3 digits, weighing about 50 tons and taking a lot of time for calculations. They were replaced, they became smaller and smaller because of initially they were using photodiodes and they are replaced by gradually the microchips. Now, in 1975, you had a computer with 256 bytes costing about nearing $300 and had only 64, not even megabytes, only simple bytes of the memory. 1954 to 60, the vacuum tubes were replaced by transistors and microchips. The first mini computer was developed in 1960, computation rate of about 100,000 additions per second. That was the maximum in those days. During 75 to 86, progressive reduction in the size of computers and far more efficient computers came into existence. You go on seeing all these, 1975 to the existing now, the computer size from 25 kg became 11 kg and 5 kg and later less than 1 kg. And memory power went on increasing on 64 KB to now it's 8 GB. These are only kilobytes, now it's the gigabytes, costing less than $1,000. So what is it that making these computers so powerful compared to initial computers? How all this happened? These are all the present smart computers. Using nanochips, you can create super small computers, which of the bacteria size. Supercomputers equaling billion laptops will be of a sugar cube size. If you want to have a regular size desktop using nanochips, it will be equal to trillions of laptops. A little computer of this size weighs less than 30 grams, have 32 gigabytes of storage. How was it made possible? Really, it's thrilling to know how is it possible. All the microchips are replaced by nanochips. And that has brought a lot of changes. With this, you have got labs, a small portable labs where you can do a lot of investigations. The days have come using this nanotechnology. We understood that diagnosis is based not on the morbid anatomy, but on chemical changes at molecular level in and around the cell. We'll enter the world of nano. A lot of publications initially from Chandigarh regarding the kits for tuberculosis. Then came the kits for pregnancy tests. Cost has come down drastically. And later, this article was very interesting. Researchers imaged the internal structure of a molecule. First time they could say, I can see a molecule. All these years they used to say a molecule acts on, but you can say now, I can see a molecule. And you can also see a DNA. All that is possible using this present nanotechnology. And here, atomic force microscope is one of the product using the nanotechnology, which has made visible of these structures which I just now said. In Ayurveda, Bhasma is the oldest form of nanotechnology. Nanotechnology cures arsenic in water. Nanotechnology boon for defense sector. They are all initially published, some of these articles. Nanotechnology has brought in huge difference in all the walks of human life. let her enter the basic principles of the journey of the nano from beginning till present days. What is nano? Nano means dwarf. Now here is a banyan tree, which is 500 years old, and it is put in a pot. So it is grossly miniaturized as a dwarf tree. What is nanotechnology, nanoscience? In fact, nobody wants to keep on remembering these definitions unless until when they need to be applied in a practical days or practical field. Even then, as the Royal Society and Royal Academy of Engineering in 2004, they are defined, I have to read it, nanotechnology, designing, characterization, production, and applications of structures, devices, and systems by controlling shape and size at the nanometer scale. That is 1/1000th of a meter. Nanoscience, study of phenomena and manipulation of materials at atomic, molecular, and macromolecular scale, where properties differ significantly from those at large scale. Nanomedicine is the application of nanotechnology to achieve breakthrough in the healthcare, exploits the improved and often novel physical, chemical, and biological properties of nanomaterials. Nanomedicine has potential to enable early detection and prevention and to essentially improve diagnosis, treatment, and follow-up diseases, as defined by European Technology 2006. In short, this is easy to understand. When existing materials are converted into nanoscale, they show altogether different properties of a great potentials. Very important. These special material called nanomaterials with special properties with unimaginable potentials are used widely in the various fields, including medicine. You can see the person is compressing all them, reducing, and it just comes out as a nano. Nanometer is a scale of measure of length or dimension. How much is 1 nano? How much is 1 nanometer? 1 nanometer is equal to 3 to 5 atoms wide only, or 40 to 50,000 times smaller than a human hair. And nanoparticle range between 1 to 100 nanometers. This is important to know that why it has got you can say why it can act on so many biological structures. Diameter of RBC is mentioned here. WBC is virus 100 nanometers, bacteria 1000 to 10,000 nanometers, whereas the DNA is 2 nanometers, proteins 5 to 10 nanometers. So looking at this, a nanoparticle ranging from 1 to 100 nanometers can easily talk to these structures, can interact with these structures more effectively. That is the capability of a nanoparticle.
So it will directly come.
Using
Or this is
nanochips,
using
as already mentioned, regular computers, bacteria size, and supercomputer sugar cube size. Micro and nanochips. Nanochips control the future. Whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, it is going to be there, both good or bad as effect. There is no choice. It is going to enter, it has already entered the fields. This is what one of the nanochips, which has got actual size is 1.28 square centimeter. It has got 500,000 locations. Each location contains millions of DNA strands. Complete medical diagnosis possible on a single computer chips. Nanobiochips labs have come, where a patient spits into a tube and the saliva is collected. This sample is put on a credit card size lab card, and this card is put into an ATM card that put into a machine or analyzer that is chipped on lab, and that has already, it is pre-programmed to give all the enzymatic analysis and give the results. Patient's cardiac status, diabetic, renal, early malignancy, etc., based on how it is programmed on the spot and produce results in as little as 15 minutes. How did all this started? You told us what is nano, what is size, and how does it react with others, but how it started all. It was not there before 1986. 1985 saw the birth of a new carbon molecule, that is carbon-60. That is the third allotrope of carbon. Carbon has three allotropes. One is diamond, other is graphite, and third one is carbon-60. And from that day onwards, new carbon chemistry has started. He was a person, Professor Harold Kroto, who won Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1996 for having brought out or detected carbon-60 molecule, and that is what is now very important, is called as fullerene. This molecule is a hollow cage-like structure, looks like a soccer ball, 20 hexagons, 12 pentagons with a carbon atom at each vertex of each polygon and a bond along each polygon edge. And this is carbon-60 molecule. It is called fullerene. It is also called buckyball. Now I repeat, allotropes of carbon, diamond and graphite, and fullerene-60. Diameter is approximately 1 nanometer. So it is a nanoparticle. Later, higher capability fullerene are discovered, and they are of high carbon content like C70, 76, 80, and 84. Higher the carbon molecules, atoms in the structure, greater the capability of the nanoparticles. Why the name fullerene? Buckminster Fullerene, he was a great architect, and he introduced this buck, that is this what is called geodesic dome, which is very sturdy and can tolerate any amount of force. And this design was very, very popular everywhere. And because this fullerene looks, this ring carbon-60 looks like this, they called its name as fullerene after his name. It has similarity with this normal carbon molecule 60. Why buckyball? Because it was mimicking like a football or a buckyball, and they also called it buckyball. So the name remained as fullerene or buckyball. Before we go, knowing the language is better, otherwise the mishaps can happen like this. Fullerene is an allotrope of carbon, C60, 70, 76, 18, 84, diameter approximately 1 nanometer. Higher fullerene have better potentials. Nanoparticles with a diameter of less than 100 nanometers are fullerenes, dendrimers, and semiconductor quantums. Next word we should know is endohedral fullerene. We already know that fullerene is a cavity, is a hollow cavity. When you put something inside, there is a space, you put something inside, then it becomes an endohedral fullerene. For example, you put X inside the cavity of C60, the X at C60 becomes endohedral fullerene. We know that this fullerene is used as a carrier in the medicine to carry so many functions. I'll let you know later. So that particular active element can be put inside this cavity, and that is a carrier it carries wherever the address is given to it. This is fullerene, and this is endohedral fullerene. You wanted this material to be delivered to a specific cell or specific areas, and that will be done by this endohedral fullerene. Endohedral fullerene are resistant to metabolism, very important, highly kinetically stable, and can be manipulated with external tools. Once this carrier is sent into the body, they cannot be acted by any of the metabolic activities of the human body. And they are very stable and can be externally controlled. So they can be used as carriers for biomedical in vivo imaging, drug delivery, tissue manipulation, sensors, and to kill a cell. It has got multifunctions. It's a multifunctional particle. Inside this cavity where you can put the contents. Here you can attach the specific areas. I will use the word address so that it will go to that particular area. Targeting molecules, cells, drug delivery, blocking site, etc. can be done. Now, nanomaterials, if they are in one dimension, it is a thin film layers or surface coating. And this is usually that is carbon tubes, nano tubes. They are usually used for batteries, and you can see the scratch has to be done. There are so many applications. 2 dimensions, the nanotubes, nanowires, etc. 3 dimensions, the dots, nanocells, fullerene, dendrimers, and all those. So there are the various types of materials. Synthesis is a very, very complex, far beyond the purview of any of us talk today, at least myself. It's a very complex procedure. In 1990, initially, carbon-60 was produced in a few grams per day, and later 100 grams per day, and now they are produced in tons together per day. Initially, it was costing about $100 per gram, and now it is costing about $0.2 per gram. A day will come where nano will be like a present plastic in use. It will be so common. Now we know the hazards of plastic, the hazards of nano in future. We'll wait for, try to prevent it. And this is the demand, 2011, 12, and 16, various nanomaterial which are being produced and there is a great demand. Why nanomaterial is so unique? When a material is reduced to nanoscale, it does not obey the classical teachings and rules of physics and chemistry. I repeat, when a material is reduced to nanoscale, it does not obey the classical teachings and rules of physics and chemistry. To give some examples, like copper, which is opaque substance, becomes transparent. A platinum, which is the inert material, becomes catalyst. Aluminum, which is stable material, becomes combustible. Gold, which is solid in a routine way, becomes liquid in a nano gold at room temperature. Silicon is accepted as a very bad conductor, but here it is a very good conductor. Why are nanostructures so different and efficient? Why is this so? You have reduced the natural conventional macrostructures to a nanostructure. Why they are so efficient and how they are different? This word we can't understand. It's only known to the engineers and the nanotechnologists. They call high aspect ratio of CNT is a unique one. I can convert it to natural available thing in a simple way. What I understood, Dr. Boder should correct me afterwards. A huge area is packed in a small volume. There are some natural available fruits, for example, a pomegranate. Looks so small, when you open it, you spread the seeds, a very huge area and a small volume. Jackfruit, nice, a lot of elements inside packed in a small volume. Similarly, you have got some other fruits are also there. So, not for mango and all. This is what I have understood. In other words, lot of information, lot of, I will say the live information is packed in a small volume. These they are novel substances and they do not obey the classical microscopic laws of physics and chemistry. This is nano gold, this is the regular gold, silver, and copper. This is gold, liquid, silver, and this is copper. This is nano, all these are nano converted elements. What's the use? So you told us how the nano was produced and whatever that capacity, what's the use? Creation of novel materials, that is nanomaterials, novel devices and systems, varieties of application, particularly at the cell level, and huge exciting, you can say, role of nanotechnology in healthcare. We are concerned to healthcare. Of course, there is no field on the earth where nanotechnology cannot touch it. It can enter into any of the fields wherever required. Nanotechnology in general applications, you can say, breakthrough the next 15 years, what can happen? Car tires that need air only once a year. Complete medical diagnostic on a single computer chip. Go anywhere, concentrators that produce drinkable water from air. 5 to 10 years from now, powerful computers you can wear or fold into your wallet. Drugs that turn AIDS and cancer into manageable conditions. Smart buildings that self-stabilizing during earthquakes or bombings. Still later, sophisticated artificial intelligence you can't differentiate from human voice from that of a machine on telephone. Paint on a computer, entertainment, video displays. Elimination of invasive surgery since bodies can be tackled or monitored and repaired almost totally from within, detecting at cellular level. Impact on human life, what can happen, and silent economy. If you take the clothing industry, Eddie Bear is a very famous company. If these cloths are embedded with nanoparticles to create stain repellent cloths, as a result, the dry cleaners, detergent makers, stain removal makers, sharp decrease, all grossly decrease, and those industries may come down. Now you can realize why they are not getting so popular. Now this is one of the example, nano-treated fabric. It doesn't stick to at all. So nano-treated garment will have liquid repellent, stain resistance, oil resistance, anti-UV ultraviolet, anti-mosquito, antimicrobial, flame retardant, crease resistant. What else you need? They are microbe killing nano-silver will be added, nano-silica for waterproofing and stain resistance, sun blocking by using nano-titanium oxide and zinc oxide, and anti-static particles. There are some of the examples where you can say antibacterials. And this is the bacteria, and this is nano-impregnated cloth, bacteria destroyed, non-sticking, with nano, without nano, with nano, without nano, with nano, without nano. Nosebleed, nano-aluminum silicate, nano-aluminosilicate, which is impregnated with these cotton bandage, can easily just put it in the nosebleed stops. Gold nanoparticles make pregnancy easy to read, and the cost also is brought down. Now buildings in Middle East, if you go, there are competition to build the taller buildings day by day. This is the Burj in Khalifa in Dubai, and that was about 800 odd meters. Now there's a competition. They want to build 1 mile tall Burj by this company. How is it possible? They are making use of the nanocarbon particle impregnated constructive material where they are earthquake proof and absolute very strong, stable, and this is how they can lightweight also. So this is how this construction areas also go, very smart buildings. These are all some of the not gone there, those who have experienced, first-hand experience might be enjoying. Now there is a plan to create an elevator from the earth into the sky at almost a kilometer elevator, carrying a payload, whatever that you want to send it to the, say that is in the sky or in the universe to some extent, space, at a fraction of the cost, with only, that is normally it may be costing about $22,000 per packet, per kilogram of the cargo to be taken. Then it will cost about $200. So this is also possible, making use of nanomaterials. Part 4, that is application in medicine, medical imaging. First one, nano X-ray tube. They are also called cold X-ray tube. Basically because there is no heat production, which is the lethal for X-ray tubes. When X-rays are produced, a lot of heat, 99% of it is converted to heat. That almost kills, that almost reduces the age of the X-ray tube. The nano X-ray tubes are called cold X-ray tubes because there is no heat production at all. As a result, they are very small also, and they can be used as a X-ray endoscopic imaging and ultrafocal spot. the focal spot is very, very small. As a result, you get very sharp images at nano level also. The regular X-ray tube, the nano X-ray tube, there are the X-ray tubes. These are portable handheld X-ray tube. These are some of the images using nano X-ray tube. There is no need to take AP, lateral and all. Almost everything will come at a time. Now nano CT scanners have come with a, I said, resolution of 1 nanometer. Now you remember what is 1 nanometer. So this technique allows the visualization of internal features in materials in 2D and 3D. It offers the imaging of all sample ranges, several centimeters, only a few micro and nanometers, not beyond that. You can do all these 3D analysis, virtual, like it's a VRT volume rendering, surface rendering, all these regular CT scan application can be done in nano CT scans also. This is one trabeculae which has been examined. And this is a tabletop CT scan using nano. These are all the tabletop CT scanners. This is one of the seeds showing internal structures, almost like a macroscopic level. This is again one of the amphibians, small reptile. This is mouse cerebral vessels using nano imaging. They are the calf muscles and the blood vessels. Mouse lung vessels. Human lung slice in nano CT, almost like macroscopic. A rabbit kidney. And nano, you can say angios you can also do using the contrast study. The cardiac angio is being done. Osseous 3D, multiplanar reconstruction, macroscopic division sections can be seen at the cartilage and their growth. Again, I said trabecular derivatives. You can evaluate the osteoporosis. This is a normal, this is a porotic bone. And nano also provides the management of osteoporosis. You can see nano scaffold you should provide and allow the osteocytes to lay in on that. And that is one of the ways you can manage osteoporotic bone matrix, which is the osteocytes are stimulated on that. This is uncoated scaffold, and this is a regular hydroxyapatite coated scaffold, and this nano hydroxy coated scaffold. You can see how rapid regeneration of the bone has occurred when you have used nano hydroxyapatite coat. Nano specs have come, mouse, bone, thyroid scans have been done. MRI contrast isn't a very peculiar question. Would you like to trace and see the nerve impulse traveling? Sir, nerve impulse tracing we have seen as an electrical one. But would you like to trace and see the nerve impulse? Yes, it is possible using nano MRI contrast agent. Now they think that track calcium is more important. Track calcium as the nerve impulse flows into the neurons when they fire. But how? By tagging this calcium to nano-sized calcium sensing contrast agent, that is detectable MRI scanners, can be used for detailed and non-invasive brain imaging. Regarding surgical aspects of surgical tools, nano-coated, minimally invasive surgery, optical nanosurgery, all these areas where the nano has a great role. Surgical tools, surgical blades and needles are coated with nano layer. It improves performance of surgical blades, mainly because while they apply the blades, a regular blade will give more friction and more tissue damage, and that leads to a thicker scars. Here, nano application, low friction coefficient, decreasing the penetration force necessary to give an incision, and hence the scars are almost, you can't see the scar to that extent. Reducing tissue damage and enhancing the tissue healing are in the field of ophthalmic, plastic, and neurosurgery. Is this rat being injecting with smart drugs? He is asking him. And the rat replies, yeah, I am the guy. Nano in early detection, treatment, and prevention of the disease. Nanoparticles and platforms for early detection and treatment. Conventional methods of diagnosis and treatment will almost be replaced by nanotechnology. I don't know when, but it has all the potentials. Cancer, no more at 2 mm mass. Future, the cancer will be detected at its single cellular level, and there's no chance for it to grow as a mass. How is it possible? Nanosensors have been put in for early detection of disease well before the patient suffers, and if this is found out, detected, block the sites for possible disease. For example, in cancer, you should need a tumor biomarkers which has the affinity to cantilevers, which bend and bends them, and the deflected cantilever sent by laser detected electronically externally. This is how the corresponding biomarkers sit on that dips down and sends externally the signals regarding that particular disease. Similarly, about nanowire-based sensors, so these sensors can detect the diagnosis of the disease process in a very early stage. Photothermal ablation, once you have detected a malignant cell, our aim is to kill, and that is done by photothermal ablation therapy, that is nano. Again, nano here are using, this is one nanostructure having, you can see all this silica core around this gold, this is all gold one, and sulfur receptor molecules which will go on attached to the specific site where it's supposed to go because of the biomarker. Once it is attached there, you can leave the infrared light into that near infrared light that will heat these gold particles, and because they're attached already in the cell dies. Detected at cell level, killed at cell level, no more growth of it. So this is just, it is mentioned there. How far it will be true, we will not come to know. And tissue organ specific also biomarkers or the indicators you can they a series of nano explosions. Controlled drug delivery, instead of heating it completely, you coat it with some thin layer. By mild heating, the layer breaks out, and whatever they have put inside that, remember that space inside the endohedral fullerene. This is the drug to be delivered for a particular cell. So this cell, these drugs will come out once there is a rupture of the outer one because of the heat effect, and it will deliver to that cell where you have written I will use the word address. It is already written on that, and there the packet of medicine will be given. Carry drug payload to its target. Can monitor through its journey, can monitor throughout the journey, delivers without being attacked because it is resistant and destroyed by the body's natural defense. It is safe and directly goes to that cell and delivers what you want to give it to. Now comes the touch. Can you touch the cell and molecule and characterize? Yes, it is possible. Atomic force microscope has come up. It's called AFM. It is just like a reading of a braille, braille. Braille. You can read a blind person can touch it and read. Similarly, this moves, this cantilever moves on the surface of the cell, and wherever it is ups and downs, and those signals are sent outside, which will help to identify the surface. This is the tip of that cantilever, which moves on that surface I told you. And deflection, these are all the various types of the cantilevers of the AFM. Imaging of cells. It can image the living cell, provides a direct measurement of cell morphology with nanometer resolution in 3 dimensions. Because of its non-invasive nature, there is no fixation and staining is required. Even dynamic process like exocytosis, infection by virus particles, and budding of enveloped viruses have been successfully visualized because it runs on the surface at the microscopic field itself. Cell membrane being highly elastic, the dip, it can go up and down without disrupting the cell membrane. And hence, the submembranous structures like cytoskeletal elements, organelles can also be studied. The elasticity of the cell can be estimated, whether it is sticky or a hard one. Softness or rigidity of the cell can be decided. Now it just moves on it and it says, oh, it's very sticky. When it is very sticky, it's very soft, there is a malignant or cancer cell. You can see there is a hard one and here it is a sticky one. These are the RBCs. This is the abnormal RBCs. This is again malignant cell. This is a malignant cell. This is one of the bacteria, is application in DNA evaluation, protein. This AFM, you can literally feel the DNA and protein molecule, they can be, structure can be studied, function and interaction can be studied. Now these are the DNA strands, the DNA with protein, attached DNA strands. The protein molecules are visible through atomic force microscope as white dots. It is not only seeing the DNA, but you can see the structure which are attached to the DNA. The proteins can be visualized and can be imaged. For example, is the protein which is specific for Alzheimer's. Once you know that, it can be blocked by using required treatment. How does cell moves? Cell movements also is possible to be studied. They identify the protein responsible cell movement, and this new understanding of cell movement may yield ways to stop cancer spread. Nano understanding biological motions. They identified something called the clutch and declutch method by moving structure in the cell. The molecular clutch engagement, and you can say it is disengagement. That makes the cell to move forward, and this is the flagellum, and clutching and declutching, this protein they identified. With this, they can stop the sperms moving, and also other applicable aspects. They're also making that, they constructed many nano robots. They are the nano robots, specify the job, provide the cell address, the job is done. Nano submarines, nano pickups. Nano in ophthalmology, I may take about 5 to 7 minutes more. All of you seen that. Nano in ophthalmology, role in optic nerve regeneration, very important. Drug delivery system, nano and retinal surgery, nano optics and bionic lenses. Regeneration in the optic nerve is possible. Naturally, there is already natural proteins present in the body, and that is called oncomodulin. This is an axonogenic factor, which usually will be repairing the damaged nerve fibers in the body at that level. And the damage is more than that, then manifests as the disease. So that has been identified, detected this protein. Here is the optic nerve which is damaged, not treated with nano. Here is treated with nano. You can see regeneration of the optic nerve axis with axonal growth. Regeneration, scaffold, growth factors, growth was enhanced. In a matter of just fibers had extended 4 millimeters from tissue in the bipolar fashion aligned nanofiber scaffold. Drug delivery, most of the drugs which are used in the eye drops and all, 90% of it is wasted. Only 1 to 5% can penetrate the cornea and reach the area where it is required. Remaining is all drained out or enters the circulation through lacrimal sacs and all absorption, and may have some side effect of that. But most of it is all wasted. To avoid that, there is a soft, you can say soft lens, which is impregnated with the nanoparticle, which is put here, and within 4 to 5 days, it can keep on delivering the drug, specifically the area required with a more effective results. Now, this is a vascular endothelial growth factor related disease and nano role. This is common in elderly age group and also in diabetics. They have found out the protein which is responsible for that, and that protein they have detected the anti-endothelial growth factor, that is oligonucleotide, and they are attached to these dendrimers, which will go and deliver the drug, can prevent this damage. Retinal processes are coming out. Robotic repair of damaged retina is possible. This is all in the process. Don't ask me, sir, when can we have, you're only telling nothing, we see them. Nano application in detection and management of age-related disease. Atherosclerosis is one of them. I never knew till I read this article regarding that a plaque, atheromatous plaque, has its own blood supply. And that was the Semaglutide is the one which can inhibit this blood supply. There is a blood vessel that feeds the atherosclerotic plaque. And this semaglutide is rides on the nanoparticle, reaches the site and stays there. Nanoparticle drops its load, that semaglutide, at the site of early atherosclerosis, and it is dissolved. Now the example is the artery in a rabbit. This is with semaglutide. Now some of the aging of the cell age, it depends, intactness depends on the balance between the membranes having its content both lipophilic and hydrophilic. As long as that membrane balance is maintained, the cell remains young. And now nanosomes, they are carrying the actives, and that will try to maintain the balance between these layers. And with that, already they are available in the market. Nano-encapsulated vitamin A, vitamin E, nano-encapsulated alpha lipoic acid. All these are the things which you'll be seeing in a TV serial, starting from daughter to the grandmother look same. They almost made of this side. How long we can live and remain young? That's the question, which might be a curse. Nanorobots that will keep us forever young by swarming through the body, repairing bones, muscle, arteries, and brain cells. Now we come to abuse. This is the greatest threat in future. It has so much application in all the fields and can be easily abused. Shortly you'll start seeing, already you are seeing to some extent, the terrorists, weaponaries, wars and mass destruction, biological approach, etc. are all the results of the abuse. And hence military and arms control and security aspects of nanotechnology, that is Department of Physics, University of Ireland, have come out and they say that to avoid such dangers, we propose some approaches to nanotechnology arms control, which they consider the social impact of nanotechnology from the point of view of its military application and their implication of security arms control. Several applications are likely to bring dangers to arms control treaties, humanitarian law, military stability, and civil society.
Excuse me, sir. Joshi sir.
Last slide.
Joshi sir.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Could you share the slide again, sir?
Which one?
Your presentation slide.
Previous slides.
Abuse?
Yeah. Could you share it again? Because there is some interruption. Please
Okay,
share
okay.
it again. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see this slide?
Not yet, sir.
The presentation is not visible, sir.
Here is very clear.
I think you have to restart it again, your presentation, sir.
Okay.
Visible.
Can you see now?
Not yet, sir. Not yet.
Just a minute.
Can you see?
Yes.
I'll go back. The abuse, as I said, very easily abused because it has got tentacles in all the fields and can be easily abused. Whatever that comes with a lot of advantages, there are always proportionate abuse is very easily possible. To be abused by terrorists, weaponaries, wars and mass destruction, biological approach, etc. To avoid this, the military arms control and security aspects of nanotechnology and the Department of Physics, University of Ireland, they have come out with a proposal. We consider the social impact of nanotechnology from the point of view of its military application and their implication for security and arms control. Several applications are likely to bring dangers to arms control treaties, humanitarian law, military stability, or civil society. To avoid such dangers, we propose some approaches to nanotechnology arms control. This is regarding arm control. Already rules and regulations against abuse have already been implemented. Let me conclude. Nanotechnology, nanoscience are here to stay and grow, whether you want it or not. There is no field where it cannot be applied. It is a great boon to mankind, especially in the field of medicine. It can do anything at a molecular and cellular level except creating a life. You cannot fill the life into that. But man is a peculiar animal, and the fear is, he is the one behind this development. And you can imagine. It is better to have some knowledge of the same before it catches us unaware. That was the main purpose of this talk. That is all about wonder world of nano in medical field, not a fiction but a hard fact. Be ready to accept. Be ready to accept and grow. Thank you very much. Nothing is more enjoyable than the beauty of the nature. Respect it, nurture it, grow with it. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.